Hey guys, just a quick video on what everyone calls boiling the head, but I don't actually boil it. I just let it simmer. So I find when it boils that the actual skull structure becomes a lot more frail. So for me, I just allow them to simmer, and I do it twice. So just giving you a brief idea of what I do. This is one I done last week. It was a cull stag that I shot the week before, and that's I haven't used any peroxide or anything else like that on there at all. It's just completely it's just done 2 boils and been hit with a karcher. That's it. So here's my stag I shot on the weekend. Only a little fella. They're both shed heads, so I'll just hang them up in the shed, which I like to do. And there's a bit of solution in there already. What I've done is I use kind of 250 grams of salt and a large squirt of concentrated or ultra concentrated detergent. I chuck that in there and I'll fill that up to where pretty much when I put this in and I drop it down like that, I want the water to be up at the level of the pedicles. So and I'll boil that for 2.5 hours thereabouts. Not boil, sorry, simmer that for that long. And then I'll leave the head in the water and let the whole thing cool down. And then I'll tip the crap out. And then tomorrow I'll do a second boil. And when I do the second boil, I'll do the same thing again, 250 grams of that, a huge big squirt of that. And then I'll put some bicarb soda in, but I'll show you that process when I get to it. I'll just start this boil now. Not boil, simmer, skull simmer. Too used to what everyone's told me in the past, but and I'll show you how to get a skull to come up real nice, neat and clean without too much trouble. Set up, it's just a gas can, gas burner. You can pick up from any one of the hardware stores, and of course the big pot. Now what I'm trying to do on the first simmer for the couple of hours is really just get all the fat to liquefy with the salt and the heat, and obviously the detergent helps to kind of lift it off the bone, which is really good. So getting as much of that stuff kind of floating, constricted and off the bone as I can. And then you know, the second one with the bicarb soda actually just almost melts all the rest of the meat and fat and everything else off there. So again, that's the burner and the gas can, and head in the box, ready to roll. Alrighty, soup's in, first simmer's on, and what I'm looking for with this one is, I probably already said it, but just for most of this solution in here, which is just salt and concentrated detergent, to kind of liquefy a lot of the fat, break all the fat down and lift a lot of the meat off the bone. And I'll give you guys a look once this is sat in there for a couple of hours. Alrighty, and here's the head after the first cook. What I've done is I'll just sit that on there like that. It looks a little bit gruesome, but what I did do is any of the kind of obvious meaty chunky bits that was still kind of left on it, I just lightly pushed that off with an old chisel. I mean, I didn't hack at any of it because it's so soft that basically it's just going to come off, and it comes off real easy. You know, you don't have to hack or push or anything like that. And it's a 2-minute job. I'm just trying to get the excess stuff off, not really trying to do any grave peeling out or anything like that. I'm just trying to get that excess stuff off real quick. You know, just to help clear up the top of the skull. and or loosen it up just that little bit more, and away we go. But that's already come up like super. With how clean it is, all the cheeks have pretty much come off. You know, all that meat sitting in there, and you can see how the fat has all been kind of stripped off by the combination of the salt and the detergent, which is really great. So what I'm going to do is I'll take this bottom jaw off now, and that'll go in the bin, and then I'll probably clear just a little bit of that meat out, which is the excess meat, but not much. And then I'll make the new solution, which we'll talk about in a sec. But I mean, that's come up bloody awesome already, and that's just on the first 2-hour boil. Again, not a boil, a simmer, and I left it in that overnight and let it cool down in there, so that the bones wouldn't. Well, I think one of the tricks, and I'm no scientist or no bloody bone specialist, but I think one of the tricks is, which I've noticed, is not allowing the skull to cool down too quick. There's a lot of people take it out straight away and don't allow it to cool down in the water, and that makes the bone structure constrict really fast. And I think that's how a lot of people get a lot of those cracks and breaks and stuff like that when they do the skulls. Anyway, it's just the way I do it, so it works for me, works really well. Ready for the second simmer, ready to go in. That's all the stuff that's come off it. So like I said, just a minute or two with a little bit of a chisel, and all that stuff just flakes off. Same as the jawbone, just falls out. So easy as, really easy to do. I'll get him in here for the next go, and he should come out really nice. Some salt, about 200 to 250 grams of salt.
What are you gonna make?
I'm doing the next boil on the head. Alrighty, so second cook's about to start. You can see the pedicles here just on the water line. The water's just below them, so that's kind of the level of the water you want. You need to probably just top it up once or twice as the water starts to steam, and you lose some of the water, you know, off the skull. But it's not. I don't really top it up that often. Only if it's, you know, if it's a really warm day, and you don't need to really worry about it, to be honest. But the biggest thing is here. What I've put in here is your detergent, your salt, about 250 grams of salt, a huge squirt of the detergent again, and the next step is the bicarb soda, which is this stuff. So, and I just go to town with this stuff. Go nuts. Put it all through there. Probably about 3/4 of a box. Over half a box anyway. If you get much of it on the antlers, just wash it off. But it should be fine anyway. But that will help really pull a lot of the crap off the skull, and also clean that skull really, really nice. And it'll come up nice and fine. So I'll turn the burner on now, and I'll set myself a timer for an hour, and I'll come and check it. I'll probably turn it off at that hour because it'll be close to boiling, and then I'll leave it for maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, and then I'll turn it on for another hour. Again, so it doesn't boil the skull and overheat it, and then the tail end of that process we'll talk about in a minute. Alrighty, so I've done an hour, and then I turned it off and I let it cool down. And it's been sitting in this solution for probably about 40 minutes or thereabouts. But as you can see, like, look at that. That's coming up real nice. I'll only have to give that a touch up with the Karcher, and it will be smack on. So what I'll do now is I'll give it 1 more hour in here with heat, and then again I'm going to let it cool down with the you know, just in the water itself, and then I'll hit it with a Karcher and give it the final clean, and it should be ready to go on the wall. But that's looking bloody perfect right now. Alrighty, here we go. So this is the last hour of the boil. Look at how white that skull has come up. That is beautiful and white. All I have to do now is hit that with the Karcher and get those grubby little bits off, and this thing will be perfect once it dries. It'll be absolutely smack on. Just let me grab it from this side. All the major meaty chunks and bits are off. I'll just clear out the nose and a bit of the back of that, and it will be absolutely fabulous. As you can see, that already is, yeah, like, well, I can tell that's going to come up really nice. I'll get those tiny little bits off it and it'll come up very, very good. Anyway, the next step is hit it with a Karcher. I almost forgot something important, and that is these little nose bones. I always pull these out before I hit them with a Karcher, so they just sit in the top here, and you can basically just pull forward and slip it out, and afterwards I'll just glue that back on, and I'll show you how. They're the two little nose bones just sitting there, and then I'll whack that. Most of this stuff I can actually just pull out. I don't even need to hit it with the Karcher, it'll just pull out straight away. So I'll do that in a moment, and I'll let it cool down a bit more and hit it with a Karcher. Alrighty, the finished product. There he is. So, well, almost finished product. I've just got to glue the 2 front nose pieces on, which I'll glue these on in a minute, and then he'll be completed, ready for the shed. All the gunk gone. As you can see, he is beautiful and clean, and you know, there's nothing to worry about anywhere. I'll snap that other hook off. I'll snap. Oops, be careful with him because he's still pretty wet, but that hook there I'll break off, just so it's easier to hang him. And but he's come up bloody beautiful, and he will dry really, really nice and white. And honestly, for a shed head, I don't think you need to go any further. There's no need for peroxide or anything like that, because he will turn out just like this fella here, which we done last week. So as you can see, once he dries, he'll dry nice and white, and it'll be bloody beautiful. So I'm really happy. 2 stags in the last 2 weeks, 1 cull stag, and my tag on the second last day of the season, and he's all finished and ready for the shed now, which bloody awesome. Alrighty guys, moment of truth. There's the stag I done a couple of weeks ago, and here's the new one. I glued the nose back on. He's all finished, all but done. In fact, I'll sit him there for a sec, and then I'll give him a look. But I just used some plain old super glue, put the nose back on. When you pull all that cartilage out and everything, those little bones little pieces on there, you can just slip them out. So I find that better than losing them or having them broken by the Karcher, because those kind of pressure washers can be really flipping strong and break the small brittle bones quite easily. So from a glue point of view, I just put a little bit of glue in here, a little bit underneath, and sometimes I'll put a little bit in here as well, just to hold all the top of the skull together. I also nearly always glue the teeth, because they always end up loose, especially these front ones. So those front three I'll glue from the underside. So from here, under here. You can whiten those teeth up if you want with peroxide really easy, but like I said, for a shed head, I wouldn't bother doing anything else. I mean, there's not much, you're not going to get that much whiter, even with peroxide. So, you know, it might smoothen it up a little bit or something, but, you know, it's looking bloody good if you ask me. And she's done, another one. Both my heads for this stag season done. This one's got a hell of an old flipping bloody drop guard tying on him. But yeah, both done and dusted.